and welcome back to my channel. Today I introduce you to the SSD Hat from Pineberry PI and show you how to migrate Ubuntu server from SD cards to your SSD. So let's get started. Disclaimer: this video is not sponsored and reflects my own opinion. I bought the Hat drives with my own money. The SSD Hat from Pineberry PI allows you to attach an SSD to your Raspberry Pi over PCI Express. The company is located in Poland and was founded last year. They offer the Hat in two different versions, the Hat drive bottom and the Hat drive top. Today I will show you the Hat drive bottom. This hat can fit 80mm long SSDs, the most common length for desktop PCs. This also means you will find those SSDs more likely in special offers. The build quality overall is pretty neat. The Hat drive works as expected. But there are two major design flaws. The first one: you can't change an installed SSD quickly, because the screw is not reachable if the SSD is installed, which means you have to disassemble the whole Hat drive, which has 4 more screws. The second flaw is the position of the SSD itself, which points directly to the bottom, which basically means if you don't use a case, the Raspberry Pi sits on top of your SSD. I don't know if this is optimal for heat dissipation. If we take a look at Pineberry, they placed the SSD between Hat and Pi. Anyway, let's get to the technical part. I have already set up a Raspberry Pi 5 with Ubuntu on a SD card, so I had to figure out how to migrate from a SD card to SSD without losing data. My first attempt was to migrate from Ubuntu SD card to an SSD directly by cloning the SD card onto the SSD, but it did not work. I'm still wondering why. My second attempt was to create a new image directly on the SSD with the Pi imager, but it failed. The Raspberry Pi won't boot. So I guessed that's because I'm already using Ubuntu. I can't change the magical boot config file. Back to the drawing board. I cloned my SD card with Win32 imager. Just select the path where you want to store your image file and click on Read. After the read action has finished, you will find your image file on the path. After this, I started Berliner Etcher and wrote the image file onto the SSD. Berliner Etcher warns you that he is writing on a big volume, but that's fine. I started the Pi without the SSD Hat and changed the boot config and the RPI EEPROM config. Thanks to Jeff Geerling for his tutorial. I shut down the Pi and boot the SSD Hat, and the active LED starts blinking.